Okay, hi. This video is basically for those who missed my webinar. I checked the webinar video quality. It looks like it wasn't that great, especially the audio. So I thought I'll just quickly do a recap on Ichimoku and share this with you. Okay. Okay. So in this video, basically, I will be covering the first part of three parts. The first one is the basics of Ichimoku, which I'll cover in this video. And then the next video, I'll cover generic interpretations, and finally the strategy in the third video. I may actually increase the number of videos depending on how much size is required. Sometimes it's easier to download smaller sizes. So, okay. Anyways, so let's go with the basics of Ichimoku. So the first thing that we need to do is ensure that our mindset changes from a complicated system to something which is as simple as moving averages. So what I'm trying to tell you is that Ichimoku is just a set of 4 or 5 moving averages. We're all very comfortable trading with moving averages. We know the rules of it as well. So trust me, Ichimoku is very simple, very easy to understand. Okay, so when I said that it follows the rules of moving average, you just have to focus on 3 rules that we use in trading with moving averages, and I mentioned that over here. One obviously is your moving average crossovers. What is that rule? Basically, when a faster moving average crosses above the slower moving average, we say that it's a bullish trend or a buy signal. Similarly, if a faster moving average crosses from above to below a slower moving average, then that is more of a bearish indicator and a sell signal. So that's one of the rules that we have to keep in mind. It's a simple thing which we all follow. The second one that we follow is basically price crosses moving average, or we call that a breakout from moving average. So whenever you see a price moving from bottom to top and crossing the moving average, it can either close above moving average, or you can even wait for a confirmation like a full candle above moving average. Whichever rule you follow, you always correlate price with moving average. Okay, so whenever the price crosses above moving average, you call that a bullish crossover, and whenever the price crosses below the moving average, you call it a bearish crossover. Okay, so that's the second rule that we need to keep in mind. And third one, which is the most important one, is moving average acting as a source of support or resistance depending on the trend of the trade. So you see quite often that the price comes down and then it touches or takes support from a moving average and then bounces back up. So that's because moving average is dynamic support or dynamic resistance. So before we move forward in Ichimoku, just make sure that you keep these 3 rules in mind, and you also understand that Ichimoku is nothing but moving averages. Fair? Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. Now, when I said that Ichimoku is a set of moving averages, it is, but there is a minor change in the way the moving average is calculated. So the moving averages that we are aware of are simple moving averages and exponential moving averages, and even sometimes weighted moving averages. One of the things that is common amongst these 3 moving averages is that they use mean as a method to calculate the point on a particular candle, and they use mean to plot the moving average line, whereas Ichimoku uses median. So just to give you a quick difference between mean and median, we know in school we've studied about mean, median, and mode as a method of calculating averages. So what is mean? Mean is nothing but if you have a series of say 5 numbers, mean is the sum of all 5 numbers divided by 5, which is the total number of numbers that are there in that set. So in this example, I have given 1, 2, 5, 8, and 29. And so the mean would be 1 plus 2 plus 5 plus 8 plus 29 divided by 5, which is 45 divided by 5 equals to 9. Now, median, on the other hand, is the midpoint of a particular range. So what we mean by that is, in the same example, you look at it, you have 1, 2, 5, 8, and 29. The highest and the lowest values being 29 and 1. So the way median is calculated, you look at the highest value You look at the lowest value, add them together, divide by 2 to find the midpoint. In this case, 29 plus 130 divided by 2 is 15. So you see that although the set is the same, you still have, two numbers when it comes to mean and median. Now, honestly, if you're working with EMAs or SMA or even WMA, you don't really check how it is calculated, why it is calculated that way. So let's not go deeper into this thing. I just wanted to show you a difference between the two. That is all. But otherwise, this has no relevance apart from this. I also have to say that based on my experience of a week or two with Ichimoku, median seems to be a much better representation of demand and supply levels, so support and resistance levels. So yeah, so it's quite powerful. The other thing that I would want to point out over here is, since median takes 50 percentage, we also know another powerful indicator, Fibonacci, uses also 50%, 61.8 and 38.2 percentages as its levels, and 50% being its most favorable level. So in a way, you can actually associate the Fibonacci 50% level to the same as a Ichimoku moving average, which makes it almost equally powerful. So that's just basically for you to understand how it is calculated, but from a trading perspective, it really doesn't have too much of an impact how it is calculated. Fair. Now let's go into details of Ichimoku. So excuse me. Now, once you've understood that Ichimoku is nothing but moving averages, now you look at all these components of Ichimoku and try and relate them to moving averages alone. Okay, so you have basically 5 components, and the sixth one is nothing but an area called Kumo, or the cloud, which is nothing but the area between span A and span B. So you really don't have to focus on point 6. Let's just focus on points 1 to 5. Okay, so first one is called the Tenkan-sen line. Tenkan-sen is a Japanese term. If I suggest not to use these Japanese terms, because these are the ones that really take us away from, take our interest away from Ichimoku. So let's call it the conversion line, which is what it is. Some people also call it trigger line. Okay, the trigger line or conversion line is nothing but a 9-period IMA, which is 9-period highest value, highest high plus lowest low divided by 2. Okay, so if you actually draw a Fibonacci for the last 9 periods, you will actually get this conversion line value as the 50% of it. Okay, baseline is exactly the same thing, except that instead of a 9 period, you calculate for 26 periods. Okay, so this is a slightly stronger support or resistance line, a slightly stronger moving average. And let's go directly into point 5, which is span B, is exactly the same as these two, except that this is for 52 periods, which means that this is one of the strongest moving averages amongst these 3 lines: conversion line, baseline and span B. Now let's go to the third one, which is called the lagging line. And lagging line is nothing but the current market price. So it's that if you convert your price into a line chart, the lagging line would be exactly the same as the current market price. The only difference being is that it is plotted 26 candles behind, or 26 periods behind. Okay, so there's a displacement of minus 26, and the main purpose of this lagging line is to compare the current prices with what it was 26 periods ago. So if the current price is lesser than what it was 26 periods ago, the lagging line would be lower than the price at that point in time, and that means it's a bearish territory. And if the current market price is higher than what it was 26 periods ago, which means that we've had a bullish run for the last 26 periods, and the lagging line would be above the candle at that point in time. Okay, so that's the lagging line. It's simple. It's a what do you say? It's just the current market price pushed back 26 periods. Okay, and then the next one is span A, or it's called Senku span A. Lagging line is also called Chiku span, and baseline is called Kijun line. And I'm familiar with these names. You may become familiar later on, but I would suggest to stick to the English terms. Okay, so span A is nothing but the average of the first two lines. So this is a 9-period moving average, this is a 26-period moving average. Span A is nothing but an average of these two, and that's it. So the Tenkan plus Kijun divided by 2. Fair? So in terms of the strength of moving average, I mean, like if you had 5 moving averages, moving average 5, 10, 20, 50 and 100, you know that the fastest line is your 5 moving average and the slowest is your 100 moving average. You also know that the 100 moving average is the most strongest support or resistance, and the 5-period moving average is probably the least in terms of strength of support and resistance. So use that logic here, in the sense that you have 9-period moving average, which is the fastest moving average. Then the next fastest moving average is your span A. Span A is in between 9 and 26 because it's an average of these two. So span A is the second fastest. Then the next stronger moving average is your baseline, and the strongest moving average is your span B. So keep this in mind. We will explain each of these separately in the coming slides, but I think it's important for you to just understand the strength of each of these lines before we move forward. Okay, so let's look at these components individually. It may give us a better understanding. But before we do so, let me just quickly show you how the Ichimoku chart looks like, and then we can go into each of these components. Okay. Okay, so I'll stop this video here and then we'll start the next video from here.